Hello there, I'm Greg Fairlie. This is On Air with Aaron, brought to you by our friends at Nutanix. We are broadcasting live from Dubai, and a very warm welcome to you wherever you're watching us from. We'll be bringing you up to date with the very latest cutting-edge technology trends. We have tips on improving return on investment for business. We'll take questions later. There's a raffle to win an iPad Pro. And waiting in the wings, we have the man in the know, Aaron White. Okay, so here's what we know. Nutanix is already a world leader in cloud computing, bringing its state-of-the-art hyper-converged infrastructure software, cloud services, and software-defined storage to deliver complete peace of mind to its customers, along with all the all-important reliable performance. Let's take a quick look at what Nutanix actually stands for.
What does it take to deliver a disruptive hybrid and multi-cloud platform? For us, it's a humble, honest approach, based on the principles of truth, compassion, and tolerance. Listening and learning from the experience of others to understand the complexities of IT, and then striving to simplify them. We're continually guided by our customers to invent even during times of change and uncertainty. At Nutanix, the journey to hybrid and multi-cloud started with a single notion: to simplify IT. By unifying the cloud experience, eliminating cumbersome processes, and helping to keep costs low for higher ROI. Our mission is to always delight our customers. We're working hard to inspire the creators and builders of tomorrow, and our greatest reward is to see them grow and succeed. We know that success isn't achieved alone, but together with our customers and partners, doing more together.
Amazing innovation right there, as we saw in that video. Nutanix unifies the cloud experience and aims at giving a higher return on investment while keeping costs down for over 17,000 of its customers. Well, I feel we need more measurable data. Time to call upon the expert, our special guest on this show today, a man who not only leads the enthusiastic team at Nutanix Middle East, but also someone whose in-depth knowledge about the industry has earned him recognition from many. I'm reliably informed that apart from taking on a heavy workload, he loves doing weightlifting in his spare time. Please welcome Aaron White, the Regional Sales Director at Nutanix Middle East, Turkey, and Israel. Great to see you, Aaron.
It's a real pleasure to see you again, Greg. I think the first time this year.
That's right, yes. So how have you been?
Well, obviously it's been a challenging time, but personally, I've enjoyed the time at home with my young family. We've just had twins. I've seen them go from babies to toddlers.
Brilliant. How are your team coping, though, with working from home?
Yeah, I think it's been a significant change that everyone has had to come to terms with. So it's taken us one word in particular, and that's kindness. That we work together with kindness, despite all the challenges that we have in our personal lives and our work lives, all in the same place today.
Well, just a reminder that we would love to hear from you. So if you have a question for Aaron, do get in touch with us here in the studio, and we'll try and take as many of those as possible a bit later in the show. There are various ways to get in touch. Look out for details on screen. Now, work culture is changing rapidly and permanently in today's world, speeded up by the global pandemic. Take a look at this. Welcome if you just tuned in. This is On Air with Aaron. I'm Greg Fairlie, and we have Aaron White here in the studio with us. Aaron, in your own words, what is Nutanix like to work for? I mean, for your workers, for your employees, how would you rate and describe their work?
That's a great question. And initially, it was the culture that drove me to join Nutanix, around being hungry, humble, honest with heart. But actually, working in Nutanix, we live and breathe those things. We defend our culture. And I see that on the high levels of engagement that we get on a quarterly basis. When we survey the staff, we have culture surveys, we call it Culture Amp, probably 20% above the industry average. And we do that by taking time to listen to our employees, also to have clear, honest conversations about what was good, what needs improvement, and other innovation that we can bring to our business. I mean, really, I believe that the only limiting factor in your success when you work at Nutanix is your own limiting self-beliefs. And when people have got out of their comfort zones, been challenged, we've seen true greatness.
So, what are some of the measures? Can you tell us about those? As a leader of a team, to keep people's spirits high, connected with each other, doing business, because it's been a very traumatizing period of time, hasn't it?
It has. And early on, at the start of this year, we got the team together on a very regular basis. I made sure to join in the video conferences maybe 5 minutes early, welcome each member personally to the call, and that just gave it a little bit more warmth and a feeling that they were surrounded and in a family. We also made them fun, and we also took time to do what we call a skip level one-to-one. So we talk to the troops, we understand what difficulties they're going through, but equally what greatness that they're bringing, so that we can learn and share the best practice amongst the team. But more importantly, we had to have a different view from a leadership perspective, that during these times, it's a melting pot of your family, your personal life, your pets' lives, your kids' lives, your homeschooling, the pressure of uncertainty, all together, allowing almost a different way for people to express themselves. And as such, we understand that the fatigue around video conferencing, and we're giving back to the employees 1 day a quarter as wellness days, that they can take some time and put themselves outside of a pretty intense video conference schedule.
Right, thanks for that, Aaron. Well, Nutanix hosts their flagship annual event, .next, every year. In 2019, it was held in Copenhagen, Denmark. Here comes a short clip from that special time in Scandinavia.
Welcome to .next Copenhagen. This year we're celebrating Nutanix's 10th anniversary.
Because as much as we have accomplished over the last 10 years, I think we're just getting started.
The fact that we didn't just decouple software from hardware, which is what we did almost 2 years ago, but we decoupled entitlement from products.
We are running AHV on GCP as easy as ABC.
Well, that looked like fun in Copenhagen. But let me ask you, Aaron. I mean, obviously, this year in September, the event, the .next Digital, was held in September, and obviously, how was it, that transition to digital?
Yeah, that's a great question, Greg. And I think we learned a lot of things when we moved to digital. So I look back at that video just there, and I was actually in the crowd at the party with DJs Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike, and it was fantastic.
It looked stunning, it really did.
Trying to replicate that type of in-person thing in a digital format is incredibly challenging. What we elected to do was to bring some inspirational speakers to the stage, including Simon Sinek, someone who I'm an incredible fan of, and he gave us a message that leadership is around providing hope during times of uncertainty. And I think having some time on digital to really get into some great detail with our end users, I think helped. However, the length of time that we allotted to it was probably too long, right? And I think people want to consume the information in a different way in a digital era, and that's something that we learnt from taking .next Digital. But overall, I think we got our message out, and the feedback has been very positive.
Not all the customers were able to attend, the digital event this year. They obviously couldn't attend in a physical way. And so, tell us about Nutanix and your last fiscal year. Can you give us information and how you're using innovation as well?
Yeah, so despite the fact that there's a global pandemic, it hasn't stopped to drive innovation and the release of new technologies into the market space. I feel that in this time of uncertainty, customers' projects took some changes through the course of the year, where initially there was a huge rush to get online, to have people remote working, and a lot of other projects were perhaps stalled. Now, we move forward, those stalled projects actually have had important aspects that needed to be rolled out, and so we're starting to see those projects now being delivered. And in the end, and we'll talk in more detail about a bit later about some of the things that Nutanix has innovated on this year, but in the end of the day, we're here to help the customers do three things, right? Our business outcomes are around reducing risk, making money, or indeed saving money.
Let's talk about value propositions. Have there been any addition to those that you offer at Nutanix?
Yes, as opposed to an addition, I would say that there's been an evolution in terms of how we've gone to market. So we started talking a lot about simplifying IT. But actually, there's probably a number of different areas of simplification that we've driven into. The first one is really around this multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, and giving a very straightforward, easy-to-use management, regardless of where your application is. And again, it's something that is easy to say, much harder to do in real life. We've looked at multiple long-term business drivers, so growth in digital transformation, regulatory compliance, and then, in fact, in this time, a huge spend in two primary areas with governments. One is clearly on healthcare, and the other one, probably less in the news, is in defense, as various political geo things happen around this world. I think for me, the biggest change for Nutanix this year has been the move to what we like to call subscription. So you and I will subscribe to Netflix or Spotify. And why wouldn't that be any difference in the data center, right? Why would you have to buy in an old-fashioned manner where you're trying to estimate for 3, 5, or 7 years, where in fact a subscription model would allow you to take much shorter-term commitments, maybe 1 year, and then see where you are. There's so much uncertainty in this world that we're now able to unlock that for data center customers where they didn't have that option before.
Obviously, COVID-19 has had a huge effect. What would you say have been the biggest challenges?
I think if you're a CIO today, your biggest challenge is, how do I get my business online? Because perhaps that human touch isn't there. And how do I do it at scale? And it's, in some respects, accelerated the move to digital transformation or a modernization of the data centers. Because maybe it was okay before, where I could throw bodies at it. But when those bodies are either A, unavailable, B, too expensive, difficult to get hold of, you need a different approach. And that different approach has to be in super smart software.
Thanks, Aaron. Well, now the Nutanix On Air with Aaron raffle for an iPad Pro is coming up a bit later at the end of the show. All you have to do is stay tuned. It's open to all people logged in for this show. I'm Greg Fairlie, and we are here with Aaron White live. You'll be able to direct your questions to him a bit later as well. But before that, Aaron, I understand from you that it seems today more and more businesses are focusing on hybrid cloud, with 85% of enterprises believing this is the ideal operating model. Why do you believe that is so?
Yeah, so I think there's a change in how we want to operate data centers, or let's really call it what it is, business applications, depending on business needs, have changed dramatically over the last 10 years. So before, you would have everything in-house, and you would try and predict your peak business workloads, but it was never really possible. The ability to have some applications in a cloud of some description allows you to scale and be agile. Now, a really good example of that is the huge demand for technology in certain releases. I've got kids, they want a PlayStation 5. You had to go online to order it. Now, some retailers who were doing that on-premise, their websites fell over and their digital face was erased. Now, if they were to do that in a much better way, perhaps in a cloud with scalability, they could continue to generate money, which we mentioned earlier, reduce the risk of them disappearing off their digital face, but ultimately serve their clients in a better manner. But the hard thing about hybrid cloud is, how do you manage it and how do you look after it? And I think there's a number of things that Nutanix can do there from a governance perspective.
Let's touch on multi-cloud strategy. How is Nutanix positioning itself to help businesses in that area?
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, if you have a very specific set of applications to run your business, the choice of where you run them needs to be down to you, not down to the cloud provider. Nutanix is able to abstract that layer away and have one-click seamless mobility across clouds. And we do that by what we call our 4D strategy. So at the bottom layer, we have digital hyperconverged infrastructure services, which is effectively a modern data center. Wrapping around that, we look after the data, the critical thing in any organization. We help you to easily manage it, we call that DevOps, and automate it. And then for users like you and I, we're also able to deliver an end user experience. All of these things together can be run at your place of choosing. And that provides an almost infinite amount of differentiation that you can bring to your business, and not just locked into, well, this is how we did it for the last 30 years, this is how we have to do it today. And that's what I love about Nutanix. Something truly groundbreaking.
You've partnered with some of the major hyperscalers, Aaron. Can you discuss them in more detail so that we can understand that better?
Yeah, so Amazon Web Services and Azure have come to the region in the Middle East, and we welcome them with open arms. Now, some of the challenges that you have as a business is actually, okay, if I want to take advantage of all these great public cloud benefits, how do I get my application there? So you've got a couple of options. One, you can change your applications, sometimes not an option for many, or you can take your existing applications on Nutanix and run them seamlessly in the cloud. Now, that is something that sounds great. In fact, it's incredibly complex to do. But Nutanix abstracts that complexity so that in the end, all you're doing is operating the same easy-to-use console, manage your login accounts for those clouds, and have license portability to reduce the complexity. So it truly is seamless. And in fact, for me, we've got a fantastic solution for multi-cloud hybrid management.
There's been a lot of buzz in the market surrounding Nutanix database management. So why is it important, to manage enterprise data right? And is this new to the market?
Yeah, so when I entered the IT industry 25 years ago, giving away my age, we often had a phrase saying, there would be no IT without a DB, i.e. a database. A database is where you store your customer information about your goods, information about how you're interacting with yourself and other organizations and businesses. And it's vital. And what we see, and time and again when I visit customers, when I ask them about how do you run your databases, I get a look of disappointment. And why is this disappointing? Well, it's incredibly expensive, it's incredibly complex, I've got a team of guys to look after it, and I'm scared to touch it in case something goes wrong. So I wrap it around even more protection. And I sit there and I listen to this and I say, there has to be another way, and Nutanix can help you get there.
Now, just let me ask you this, Aaron. You've commissioned Analyst Research on Nutanix era via Forrester Research. Can you tell us briefly about the key takeaways from that important report?
Yeah, so we had Forrester survey some of our customers using this Nutanix era technology, one of the core capabilities of our offering. And what we found was that, first up, it saved two critical things, time and money. 97% time, millions of dollars saved for these customers. But more importantly was the ability for that database administrator to do other things other than laborious, monotonous tasks. And in the end, where you've got human hands, there'll also be human error. And we're able to take that away and provide very robust, very cost-efficient, very fast ways to manage databases. For instance, provisioning used to take one guy 4 hours, now down to 30 minutes. And this is a game changer inside the data center.
Well, as far as ratings go, Nutanix is certainly a favorite with third-party analyst researchers. They've been named leader in Gartner's HCI Magic Quadrant for over 3 years, as well as a leader in HCI by Forrester for the third quarter of 2020. How humbling was that, Aaron?
Honestly, it's amazing. Nutanix was formed 11 years ago and set up, effectively created this segment called HCI. And for us over 11 years to continue to innovate and to continue to keep our customers happy and have a vision and roadmap for the future that allows these independent analysts to rate us as a leader against many, many competitors, I think is a true mark of the mission of Nutanix and how great it is to work at a company that wants to continue to learn from its past mistakes.
Aaron, running slightly short of time, I just want to ask you this about customer delight as one of your key pillars, with a 90+ Net Promoter NPS score. It's proof your customers love Nutanix. Why do you think Nutanix has been so successful in achieving this competitive score?
Yeah, so Net Promoter Score is hard, right? To have a score over 90, or averaging 90 over the last 6 years is an amazing feat because it comes down to human interaction. So if you have an issue and you call a Nutanix service engineer, we have taken the steps to have the very smartest people at the end of that phone so that you get a wonderful customer experience. Because at the end of the day, Net Promoter Score asks you, would you recommend Nutanix? And to get a +1, I need a 9 or a 10. If I get 8 to 6, it's neutral, and anything less is a -1. So in the IT industry, great companies have NPS scores 30 to 40. Perhaps the most famous is Apple. It's got an NPS score of 70, and you know how much of a great experience that you get when you interact with those guys. So for us to have an NPS of 90 truly shows our customer obsession and that we want to make it right for those businesses who choose Nutanix.
Thanks, Aaron. Very impressive stuff. Okay, I'd like to share a video now developed by Nutanix called Best Days. I think you will agree it perfectly summarizes how Nutanix helps their customers, in turn, driving excellence. You're watching On Air with Aaron. Hi there, I'm Greg Fairlie. Aaron, thank you for sharing your valuable expertise.
Thank you.
Time now to take some calls and questions from viewers who have been watching today's show. So let's go to the phone lines, I believe, and you're through to On Air with Aaron. Who do we have there at the end of the line? Hello, hi.
Hi, Hi, how are you?
Hi there, is that Mohammed?
Yes, speaking.
Mohammed
How are you?
Mustafa.
Hi,
Good.
Aaron. How are you?
I'm very well, Mohammed.
Mohammed, where are you talking to us from?
Kuwait.
Welcome to the show. Great to have you on with us.
Thank you.
Can
you.
we get your first question?
Yeah, we have seen this great success which Nutanix did for so many years. And actually, I'm very curious to ask about what to expect from Nutanix during the next 3 to 5 years. What kind of roadmap should we expect from Nutanix?
I think that's a great question, Mohammed. And I think if you look back over the last probably 4 or 5 years, what you've seen is a gradual evolution as opposed to a revolution in the technology. I think for certain, you're going to see a continued drive towards better management of private multi-cloud. Alongside that, you start to see a proliferation of cloud services being delivered by Nutanix. Now, we have some of those already available, such as Frame, or desktop as a service, that you can consume now, and also what we call Leap, which is disaster recovery and business continuity as a service. Now, I think what we'll start to see is also us partnering more and more in the region with local service providers to deliver those, as well as keeping up our roadmap around technology advances at that modern data center layer. So we recently announced a whole bunch of storage and performance improvements with Optane, for instance, and also some APIs to be able to really make things super fast. Now, in terms of specifics, clearly that can change over time. We have a new CEO who's just joined us recently, Ravi, and I think he's certainly going to input into the future direction of Nutanix with his broad experience.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Great, Mohammed. Do you have any more questions for Aaron?
No, I'm great. Thank you very much. It's a very clear answer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your call. We've had another question come in from the chat, Aaron.
Okay.
Which is talking about the public cloud. Will you plan and will place your Nutanix where you're already on the PVT cloud? Will it go on the public cloud in the future?
Yeah, so the announcement that we made with AWS and Azure effectively puts Nutanix technologies onto what we call bare metal in the public cloud. So that was the announcement, and we're starting to already see some consumption of that with certain customers here in the region, actually, not just in America or Europe. And we had our first customer go on to AWS recently. And I think we're going to start to see more and more of that. We see the public cloud providers as our partners, and they see us as a route into the on-prem data centers where they're not. So I think it's a very mutual and healthy relationship that we have, and it's not us becoming the next AWS, certainly not. It's certainly about partnership, and that we're there to provide seamless management depending on where you want to run your applications.
Does that mean that the world is really moving to the hybrid cloud?
I think so. I think it reminds me a lot of, if we look back at history to assume where we might go tomorrow, and there was always this view that mainframes would become obsolete. And actually today, there was mainframes still in many, many data centers because they provide an amount of technology and resilience that is difficult to replicate. And I think today, you're going to have a certain amount of data and applications you're going to run on-prem. And there'll be others, and maybe many others, that you will run in the cloud. And that will come down to not only customers' choice, but government regulation. And I think that compliance and regulation will need to be looked at very closely depending on what country you're in.
Let's go to the lines again. We have another call coming through right now to On Air with Aaron. And let's see who our caller is. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, Najib Budin. We have Najib Budin Mohammed on the line coming through, hopefully, with a question for Aaron. So Aaron, you know, the complexities, just while we wait for Najib Budin to come through to us, I mean, the complexities, is the landscape completely changing in the cloud now? And is it, you know, has this been spurred on by the pandemic? Have things moved much quicker than they would have done normally?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of anecdotal stories to say that some clouds actually ran out of capacity. Because in the end of the day, they're still running servers.
Is that because people woke up, company owners woke up and sort of smelt the coffee, so to speak? They said, hold on a minute, we need to be in the cloud. Our services need to be there.
Yeah, I think it was predominantly driven by government adoption. Okay, because, you know, for instance, if you're a large European country and you decide that you need your national health service to have access wherever they are, all of a sudden projects that were typically scheduled for maybe a 9-month, 12-month rollout were literally rolled out in weeks. Now, obviously, the cloud providers had some form of capacity on demand because that's what they're selling. But in the others, they simply couldn't meet the demand. And we've seen a more mature approach as we've moved over the last 6 to 9 months, where a lot of capacity has been built out by public cloud providers, but equally, a big demand for people to build their private cloud, to give them the scalability, to give them the agility that their previous infrastructure or data center setup didn't allow them. And we've seen a lot of accelerations in those areas over the last 2/3 quarters.
Great. Well, let's go to the phone lines again and find out who our next caller is. What's your name and where do you come from? Is that Tarik on the line? Hello, Tarik, can you hear us? It's always interesting that in business circles, you know, that I'm speaking to, Aaron, you know, the fourth industrial revolution, which everyone's talking about, you know, experts are saying actually it's been brought forward by almost maybe even a decade or at least 5 years. Just the preparations for tomorrow's technology, tomorrow's world.
Yeah, I think the time of sitting on the fence is over, right? And hence that's why you know, you're hearing people talk about the acceleration of it, and you know, it's borne out by technology providers, including Nutanix, as having to really turn on a dime and deliver something not only innovative but actually delivering business continuity in an uncertain world. And you know, for me, you know, talking to customers on a regular basis, there still continues to be a lot of uncertainty, but they know for sure one thing, that's that they have to change, and they have to change fast.
We have various ways that you can contact us by phone, obviously, and by also coming through with the chat line as well. And Aaron, we have a question here. I don't have the name of the person getting in touch with us, but the question is, what does it mean for Nutanix with Dhiraj stepping down? What are your thoughts on the new CEO, Rajiv?
I think that's a great question, and something that I asked myself the other day. So Dhiraj, I've had the pleasure of meeting Dhiraj on numerous occasions, and actually someone I consider a friend, as opposed to a CEO. And he's been a wonderful CEO over the 3 years that I've been in Nutanix, and instilled, and is probably the soul of the company, and instilled the cultural values that Nutanix live by that I mentioned earlier. I've been able to attend at least 2 calls now with Rajiv, and where he was asked many questions by internal Nutants, and what I heard from it and his response was something that warms my heart. First up, someone described him, and I agree to it, as could be Dhiraj's brother in terms of their outlook on things. And the other thing that I saw was someone who had a really good 360-degree view of the business. So it's not that he was just strong on engineering, or he's strong at leadership, or he's strong at sales, or he's strong at marketing. He clearly has got a lot of experience in all aspects of making a business successful. And with any CEO, he's got his 100-day plan. A lot of it is going to be pretty straightforward. He's going to look around, ask some clear questions, and then make some opinions at the back of it. But what I saw was someone who's extremely focused on driving profitability, productivity, and innovation for the company at a really fast pace. And you know what? I'm very sad that Dheeraj is leaving, but I'm also very excited about what Rajiv has got to say. So it's only been a few days, and the future remains to be told, but certainly the prospects look very bright.
Okay, let's go to the phone lines and see if we can get in touch with a caller coming through to our program on air with Aaron right now. Hello, and can you hear us? What's your name and where are you from?
Hello, this is Paul. I'm from India, so probably I'm out of the region, but I got to know that Aaron is joining this call, so it is a very privilege to have and get some content from him, so I decided to join this call. But I'm from India.
Great. Thanks for taking part, Paul. Can we have your question, please?
Yes, Aaron, my questions, the question is actually one, but it has two different products. The first one, we have Nutanix Flow, but we have competitors from Cisco ACI, and VMware NSX. How do we place ourselves into the micro-segmentation? That one question. So I have a competitors. When I go for the deal, how I can push myself to win that deal for Nutanix Flow? And the second question, DevOps as a service. So on into public cloud, AWS has their own DevOps service, Azure has. But how do we how do we differentiate us when we go into a hybrid cloud model?
Okay, great questions, Paul, and thank you for joining us from India. So the first one around Flow is two things to really say on that. So first up, we've made some, how can I say, improvements that we're making a centralized security service for anything that you're running on Nutanix. So please do have a look at that. That was recently announced. Flow and micro-segmentation will be one part of that. But I always feel that when you're talking about security, you need to have a much broader discussion. And it's not just micro-segmentation, but it's also at-rest data encryption. And also there's a social element to security as well. On the second part around DevOps, now there's a couple of things on DevOps, and I find this is an emerging area for Nutanix, extremely interesting. So first up, we're fully embracing Kubernetes, probably the DevOps platform of the future, at least for the next 10 or 15 years would be my estimation. And we're able to deliver that right to the edge of the network with the latest release. And the other thing is that we can't look at Kubernetes in isolation. We also need to surround it with a Calm automation product alongside our governance product for Beam. So those three things together give a much more holistic approach to DevOps. And what we liked when we talk to customers about this is we don't want to talk about a specific capability. It's the multiple capabilities in Nutanix that go together that will really differentiate yourself and ourselves, Paul, in the face of the competition that you highlight today.
Great, Paul. Do you have any more questions?
Yes, thanks, Aaron, for the detailed information. When you talk about Kubernetes, so here I have another question. So do we have any plan to support or extend Nutanix into OpenShift or something like other clusters, container cluster models?
Yeah, so again, a great question, and it's probably aimed around OpenShift and this type of thing. So the only answer I can really say to that is stay tuned. It's something that we're working on very hard at the moment.
Great, Paul Lavarasu, thank you very much for your question today. Your questions, I should say. That's great. Once again, you can get in touch with us. We'd love to have your questions. We've just got a few A few more minutes left for our questions today. Got one for you here, Aaron, that's come in on the chat. Do you have direct technical support in the UAE?
Yeah, so direct technical support depends what you mean, okay? So we have our worldwide follow the sun support centers where you die 800 Nutanix. Locally in the region, we have services capability. So we're able to work together with our partners on delivering kind of day two operations. And we're also now introduced a service into the region, which we call an inside technical account manager. So I think there's a number of different offerings that we can do to ensure a great end user experience with Nutanix, should you come into any speed bumps along the road.
All right, well, a few more minutes of question and answers. We have a call coming through to us right now. Hello, you're through to On Air with Aaron. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, I'm Najibuddin from Saudi Arabia. Yeah, hi, Aaron. I just want to ask you that Nutanix are having any plan for their data center in Saudi Arabia? And one more, can we able to convert ESX site to AHV?
Great questions, and let me just summarize that for the audience. So what's the plan to have Nutanix data centers in Saudi Arabia? I think the short answer to that is we're looking at the moment at some significant partnerships to be able to deliver what we would call a managed service in Saudi Arabia. And that is something that actually, if you talk to our team in Riyadh, we're able to help you with today. From a conversion of ESX to AHV, we have a fantastic tool that makes it really easy. And we can even test drive that for you anytime you want. So in answer to your questions, I think we can do both of those things to you, and feel free to reach out to myself and we'll put you in contact with the right experts in Riyadh or in Jeddah or in Khobar as we have operations across the country.
Najibuddin, does that answer the questions? Any more questions?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling, Najibuddin Mohammed there in Saudi Arabia. Aaron, another chat message for you. We hear a lot about Nutanix giving customers freedom of choice. What does that mean?
Yeah, freedom of choice is an interesting description and something that we led with for a long time. So freedom of choice for me means a number of things. So one, a freedom of how you purchase, right? It doesn't have to be perpetual, it can be subscription. Freedom of choice in terms of the hypervisor that you want to run on. It could be ESX, it could be AHV, it could be something else. The freedom of hardware that you run it on from our partners such as Lenovo, HPE, Fujitsu, Supermicro. And then there's a freedom of choice of where you run it. It could be in your cloud, private cloud, multi-cloud. And then there's the freedom of choice of when you choose to do operations on your data center. So for a long time, and again, I've been in the IT industry a long time, people would be working weekends to do basic upgrades on their system. It doesn't have to be that way. With Nutanix, you can choose to do the upgrade at lunchtime, or from your Tesla, or from the plane. It doesn't need to be complex. And so there's many meanings to the word of freedom of choice. And hopefully that gives you a little flavor of what they could be.
Very good. Fantastic. Let's once again go to the phone lines again. And hopefully we've got Tarik on the line.
Yes, how are you guys?
Hi, Tarik. Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling you guys from Medina.
Fantastic. Thanks for being with us. What's your question, please, for Aaron?
My question is, what are the major features from going to AHV from ECXI?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Tarik, for the question. So just for the audience, what are the major features for going from ESX to AHV? I think there's a number of really important ones. So first up, AHV is a security hardened version of an open source hypervisor that you would run in the cloud. So first up, we really promote the security level to the highest standards used by many governments in the world. The second one is it's a high performance hypervisor. The third one, and perhaps most interesting for many people, it's free, right? So that, that often gets a bit of interest. But more importantly, we just see the hypervisor as a commodity component within a much broader solution that will allow you to have micro-segmentation, database management, data management, S3 integration, public cloud integration, multi-cloud governance. So all of those things stem from having AHV. So I think it's a great question because it's so open. So Tarik, thank you so much for asking that.
Tarik, do you have any more questions for Aaron?
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling us. Have a great day. So what kind of response are you currently getting in the market, Aaron? Because you're based here, you obviously can't do a lot of physical meetings, so to speak, in-person meetings. Is that presenting challenges?
Yeah, so I think initially there was a lot of reticence about being live on video when we asked for a video conference. So we had to take a few steps back and say, would it be better with camera off? Would it be better just as a phone call or even just as a WhatsApp chat? Now, as we've kind of grown through the course of the last 3 quarters, we're seeing much more interaction and much more feedback and people looking for a change from the shackles that they've been subject to in their previous iterations of their data center. The IT, I've been in the Middle East now for 15 years, and there's been kind of 3 waves of IT. There was a wave around form factors, there was a wave around open source, there was a wave around virtualization, but none of those were a fundamental change in terms of how do you actually have a really properly agile platform that can be run anywhere. And that's ultimately what Nutanix is delivering right here in the Middle East today. And I think the biggest challenge I have is getting people to understand that there is a different and better way to make money, save money, or reduce risk in your organization today.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the time we have left for the questions. Thanks so much for taking part. We really appreciate it. But we have something very important, though, to do before we go. That's a very important job in the lineup today, and that is drawing the lucky winner of the iPad Pro. Aaron, can you please roll that drum and pick the lucky winner for us? Of course, everyone who has registered to take part in our show today is in the draw. So if you're watching wherever you are, it could be you that is the lucky winner. Good luck.
Good one. Okay. And our lucky winner for today, for this lovely tablet, is Mohammed Azam from the Capital Markets Authority in Saudi Arabia. So congratulations, sir. Congratulations, man.
Mohammed Azam, Capital Market Authority, Saudi Arabia. Congratulations, you're the winner of a wonderful tablet. Really is fantastic. Same one that I've got here, actually, the iPad Pro.
Congratulations.
We've had a really brilliant time on this first edition of On Air with Aaron, brought to you by Nutanix. Thank you, Aaron, for your time. It's been wonderful just being with you, talking to you, and thanks for your energy that you've put into the show. Really appreciate it. From me, Greg Fairlie, and from all the team here, thanks for watching, wherever in the world that might be. I hope to see you again soon. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Nutanix_ME and on Facebook. Stay safe. Bye for now.